Okay, so for this first lesson, we are going to look at some aspects of number sets. And so the first thing we want to do is look at some terminology here. So we've got set, an element of a set. All element of a set is something that's in a set. So 1 is an element, 2 is an element, 3, so forth, so on. A subset is values that are a part of the original set but not the whole set itself. So in this case, if we look, 10 is in both, 8 is in both, 6. So B is a subset because there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So subsets are just part of an original set. Very easy concept, nothing spectacular here, but just wanted to review some terminology. Other terminology we want to review here is rational and then the word irrational. Okay, so again, when we talk about rational, we look at the root word. We're going to do this a lot in math. Look at the root word, ratio. So what is a ratio? Ratio is nothing more than a fraction. So a rational number is anything that can be written as a fraction. An irrational number is one that cannot be written as a fraction. So in this case, something like square root of 3. The main concept we want to learn here is what it's talking about with each one. If you take two rationals and add them together, you always get a rational. Now, that's important, the word always. We want to remember that. The same way with the product. Product of two rationals is always a rational. But if you do the sum of a rational and irrational, the number is always irrational. So a sum with a irrational is irrational. Same way with the product. If we look right here, the product with an irrational is always irrational. So just some concepts to remember there. Now we're going to look at some examples here. Sorry. So here we have some questions. It's asking whether B is a subset of A. So we look, 1 is in both, 2 is in both. So yes, B is a subset for that one. In this one, we've got 3 and 3. We have 5 and 5. We have 7 and 7. Oops, we don't have 9 in A. Therefore, B is not a subset. Also, it wants us to list numbers in order from least to greatest when they're written in different forms. So the thing to do when you want to compare numbers is get them in the same format. So the best way to do that is decimals. Now, sometimes you don't have to do exact decimals. So for example, square root of 200. Well, I know through my squareds, 14 squared is 196. So that tells me square root of 200 is something bigger than 14, 14 point something. I don't know what, but it's bigger than that. So that means this is bigger than 14. What about 41 over 3? Well, 41 over 3, I know 14 times 3 is 42. So if it's 41, that means it's less than 14. So it's like 13.8 or 9 or something like that. So now I can list them in order. I know this is the smallest. I know 14 is next. And then I know the largest is square root of 200. And that's not using a calculator, it's just using basic concepts of numbers.